What's good, gang? If you have clicked on this video, I really do appreciate you. G Jones is one of my favorite artists at the moment, so this review was definitely one I was looking forward to. And so, in this review, I will be discussing the latest EP to be released by G Jones entitled Illusory Tracks. For those who are not familiar, Greg Jones, aka G Jones, is an electronic music producer and DJ from Portland, Oregon. He's been active since the early 2010s, but he didn't hit my radar until about 2017. I saw him open for R.A.V.E a few years ago in DC, to be exact. He's got a devoted fan base, and a lot of folks in the crowd were hyping him up when I was there at the venue. And the music that I heard from him that night was mind-bending, though I wasn't sure how I felt about it at the time. However, the release of his debut LP the following year helped me understand and solidify my feelings towards his style. The Ineffable Truth is the album in question, and to this day, it is still some of the best electronic music I have heard, probably in the last decade. It was truly masterful work, as G Jones produced some of the most refreshing bass music. I would describe the sound as being a grimy blend of hybrid trap, hip-hop, and future breaks. I highly recommend you give the LP a listen if you're hungry for great dance music that raises the bar for sound design. It's truly an exceptional album, and I really do mean that. G Jones became one of my personal favorites from the current wave of EDM, largely because of this album, and it does not disappoint. His creative vision is solid, and I respect it so much because he's unapologetically true to himself with everything he does. In case you were wondering, that's why this video is shot in black and white. I respect his vision and his style, and he's become an inspiration for me creatively speaking. After The Ineffable Truth, G Jones went on to release two solid EPs, Tangential Zones in 2019, and Acid Disc 2, which was a collaboration with fellow producer Eprom in early 2022. Illusory Tracks is a beautiful bite-sized follow-up. The EP is a total of 6 tracks, sitting just under 20 minutes in length. Of course, there's not much lyrical content to speak of here, but there's plenty to discuss in terms of musical production. And as always, I'll be offering my thoughts, observations, and highlights on the music, track by track, naturally starting with the first. Track 1 is entitled Operator. The EP kicks off with this huge hybrid trap banger. It was previously an unreleased track known by fans as the Ray Gun track or Ray Gun ID. The song begins with the sounds of mesmerizing synth arpeggios, which are constantly shifting in flavor. A subtle, squishy bass tone also sneaks into the mix. The drums kick in soon after, with some fluid breaks to complement the increasingly beautiful arpeggiated synth melody. It's truly a mesmerizing sound, which grows more vibrant as we enter a mind-bending build-up. The first drop slaps the listener in the face with clean drums, syncopated laser-like synth stabs, and choppy vocal samples. I love the layering of the snare rolls, and the trap percussion is deliciously crispy. The laser synth timbre shifts as the drop develops, with two especially tasty sounds blasting the mix towards the end of the drop. It feels like the sound of frantic blaster fire is being pumped into the mix, as the drums pound into the listener's eardrums. After listening to the drop, it becomes abundantly clear why fans call this the Ray Gun ID. The energy is simply massive. After the drop ends, we shift back to the synth arpeggio from the beginning. The drum breaks also return, and the music builds into a second drop. This drop is brief. It's about half the length of the first one. I enjoy the frantic variation in the laser synth stabs here. We've got gliding pitches and various samples, changing up the sound in subtle ways. The song ends as soon as the drop is over. The mix eventually grows more granular in flavor as the sound fades all the way out. Track 2 is entitled Elysian Hardcore. At the beginning, we're introduced to the sound of a cheering crowd and the voices of shouting DJs as they hype up the folks in the audience. The synth stabs burst into the mix, playing a simple melody, and we're thrown into the first drop section. It's a smooth groove, a blend of simple kicks, claps, and syncopated bass synth. I should note it's not a melodic section, it's mostly atonal at the first, as the focus is on the raw energy provided by the grooving drums and synthesizers. The syncopated synth stabs return once the drop ends, and we transition into a fluid buildup. What follows is a bridge filled with slapping drum breaks, more vocal samples, and we soon enter a second drop. This one is interesting, as the percussion features the main drum groove with sprinkles of drum breaks in the mix. The resulting grooves are wonderful and lively. There's also the addition of a human-like synth melody. It sounds close to a voice, but I'm sure that it's not. It moves like liquid across the mix, and a second synth melody follows. The timbre feels like a flute sliding across the sound of the drum breaks in the mix. The drop continues to develop as new interstellar melodies zoom across the mix. I nearly caught whiplash trying to process all of the different sounds here. G. Jones eventually brings us back to the original groove of the first drop, and the song ends as soon as the section is over. Track 3 is entitled R.A.V.E. featuring Eprom. Powerhouse bass music producer Eprom teams up with G. Jones to deliver this huge dance banger. This is another beautiful addition to their growing list of collaborations, and I'm sure it won't be the last time we hear these two legends working on a track together. We begin with the syncopated synth melody, which moves down in pitch as it progresses. The sounds of rushing white noise and synth risers soon enter the mix as we enter a new section. The main synth riff kicks the song into a new gear, accompanied by a low sub-bass and the sound of distant sirens. It's a brief build-up, which leads directly into the first drop. The drop section is a wild blast of energy. We're slapped in the face by the thick percussion, which features a blend of kicks, claps, and tiny hi-hats. The synth riff transforms in taste and remains at center stage as we can hear 4 distinct timbres. The first is a fuzzy saw, angry in taste. The second is a cold plucked sound, which provides a great contrast. Beneath this, we can feel a sub-bass grooving along, which mimics the rhythms of the synth riff. In the distance, we can also hear a siren sample, which is very reminiscent of the Kill Bill siren if you're familiar with that sound. The second half of the drop switches up the sound again, with other synth timbres making their own appearances. The third timbre is another fuzzy saw, with hints of harmonics which help widen the mix a bit more. The fourth is a dizzying synth timbre with fun samples sprinkled in the background, which remind me of retro video games like Pac-Man. Afterwards, the first synth riff reappears and the drop groove continues on for a bit, and bridges into a post-drop section. The original synth melody from the intro reappears, and it helps bridge us into the following build-up. The sirens and risers return, swelling the mix into the explosion that follows, the second drop. From what I can tell, the percussion is largely the same as that of the original drop. The synths and samples do change a lot though. They become crunchier and fuzzier, with wild samples of jet planes and sirens rushing in the background. We can hear timbres like a fat saw bass, distorted buzzing guitar tone, and a cold, hollow bell. This drop goes on to deliver a wide array of flavors from here on out, as drum breaks bleed into the mix, and the synths continue to go crazy. The song ends as soon as the section comes to an end. And I've got to say, the tune is a huge highlight, packed with high energy, a solid groove, and lovely percussion. Track 4 is entitled Patterns Emerge. For a long time, this tune had been one of my favorite unreleased tunes by G. Jones. I remember first hearing it during his set at Porter Robinson's Second Sky Festival in 2018. I wasn't actually there in person, but I was able to catch the live stream. The song begins with fuzzy, stuttering synth timbres, all collectively building a gradual sense of a chord progression. Just imagine you're floating along a calm digital river of binary code, a stream of data moving from point A to point B. And in this case, point B seems to be the introduction of the main synth melody. It's very catchy and played by a synth timbre, which is constantly shifting in color. After we hear it in full, the music brings the glitching synths back, and drums enter the mix to build us into the drop. It's like the wildest acid trip. I've got to say, the drop is what captivated me from the very first time I heard the song. The main melody returns in the form of a steel drum. It's such a beautiful sound, and it's not one you hear often in electronic music. The steel drum has such a distinct timbre and works beautifully in this mix. We can also hear pan flutes and low bass rumbles. The percussion is a smooth blend of future breaks and hybrid trap, which features a rich array of hi-hats, crisp snares, and deep kicks. The second half of the drop introduces new synth timbres, eventually bringing back the original iteration of the main synth melody heard before the build-up. The drop quickly fades after this, and the second half of the song changes drastically. Muffled synth chords move the music onward, and it's the only sound that can be heard in the mix. All of the other elements have faded out. Sporadic bright synths can also be heard, which feel like random flashing lights in the mix. This continues as sporadic percussive elements also enter the sound, and towards the very end, the original synth melody returns one last time, and the bright synths fade the song out. Track 5 is entitled Thought Tracing. This is a gorgeous and serene track. It's a strong breather for the EP. The song kicks off with the main synth melody, which tastes like a hollow keyboard. It's slow in its rhythmic movement, and subtle percussive elements help keep the song moving. It's mainly kicks, snares, and beautiful digitized hi-hats. That's the best way that I can describe them. The keyboard melody grows more complex as the presence of the drums increases in the mix. I love the way these two elements complement each other. In the later third of the song, the drums continue to develop and the synth melodies become glitchier. This is one of those songs that's like the interlude you always want to come back to. It's calm, beautiful, and moves in all the right places. And lastly, track 6 is entitled Say What, featuring ISOxo. Rising star ISOxo teams up with G Jones, and it's like these two guys hit the fusion dance for this track. Their styles complement each other perfectly. I would describe ISOxo's sound as being a sleek, bombastic take on hybrid trap. The young artist recently signed to R.L. Grimes' own record label, Sable Valley Records, and I'm genuinely excited to see his growth. The song kicks off with a wonderful synth tone, which plays a simple melody. It's like a beautiful supersaw. Once the drums enter the mix, the song shifts into a new gear, with breaks leading us into the build-up. Sleek saws and chunky kick drums swell the music beautifully for the crescendo, which leads into the drop. And the drop section is amazing, featuring laser-like synth stabs in the center of the mix, a huge crispy trap beat, beautiful supersaws. The first half is just massive. The second half of the drop switches up the sound as dizzying synth timbres stutter over the subdued drums as the groove does change. The energy is eclectic and bizarre, and I mean that in the best way possible. And the bridge that follows is similar to the intro, as the saw melody and the drum breaks return. Smooth snare rolls release the listener into a new groove for the second drop. This section is a lot shorter than the first drop, and it manages to pack a ton of new sounds into the brief section. The pumping 4-on-the-floor kick drums accompany the supersaw tones to raise the energy levels like crazy. After this groove breathes for a moment, we switch back to the original laser synth stab trap sound, and the song ends shortly after this. And I've got to say, this collaboration between these two artists was definitely a huge highlight and a great closing track for this EP. I hope to hear these two guys work on another track or maybe some more music in the future, but we'll see. Only time will tell. And overall, this was a fun-sized EP, packed to the brim with plenty of energy and grooves. G Jones flexes his trademark style all over the project, showcasing his stellar production ability every chance he gets. From the catchy earworm melodies, to the face-melting synths and bumping percussion, to the masterful execution of the layered mixing to emphasize the strong grooves. This is the third EP he's released since his debut album, and I'm eager to hear what he's planning for his follow-up album. He shows no signs of stopping, proving to be a formidable creative force to be reckoned with. With an artist like G Jones, the sky is truly the limit, and I'm eagerly awaiting his next creative endeavor. And if you ever get the chance to see him live, I highly recommend it. It's an experience unlike any other, and the man certainly delivers a beautiful show, regardless of what set he's performing that night. And if you've sat here and you've listened to me talk about G Jones and his latest EP, Illusory tracks, I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch. And if you are working on new music, or you make some kind of art, or you're just listening to new music that you're really excited about, and you want to share that with somebody, you can certainly send that my way. And if you would like constructive criticism or feedback, just make sure to ask me. I'd be more than happy to provide that to you. And with all that being said, I hope you're having a very wonderful day. Make sure to stay warm out there, bundle up because it is freezing. And of course, make sure to stay hydrated. Take care. Peace.